programs that is in place. With the end of the operating agreements coming, we need to make sure that we renew those. Some 3,000 families and individuals will be impacted if those operating agreements are not renewed in British Columbia alone. We know that the infrastructure is getting old here with a lot of the housing projects, and we need to invest in that infrastructure in actually doing maintenance, proper maintenance for these buildings. We need to actually grow the market rental stock as well. The vacancy rate is 0.5% right here in the Lower Mainland. So we want to actually use federal tax incentives to get the developers to build more lower-end market housing as well. You know, when I think about housing, I think about this. You know, home ownership is almost a pipe dream. And I mentioned to my mother early on, and at 65 she reached when she retired. Her and my dad, they pay off their house, actually at retirement age. And we need to find ways of addressing the issue of affordability all the way for the full spectrum, for the people who are homeless, for the people who are low income, for people who are professionals, for families, for seniors. And then we need a special strategy, in my view, to address the Aboriginal community's lack of housing. And you know, women, single moms who've lost their children, they should not be able to get their children back because they don't have housing. So these are very practical ways, and there's much that we can do. And then last but not least, we need to work with everybody in partnership to address housing so that it's a right and not a privilege.
Edward Wong from the Liberals.
Thank you. I made reference to the Liberal infrastructure package, $20 billion towards social infrastructure. That will include prioritizing social housing and seniors housing. When Justin Trudeau was in town, he identified that this would include the renewal of existing co-op agreements. The co-ops were started in the 70s and 80s by under Liberal governments, and they're coming up for renewal. It will also include the building of new co-ops, seniors housing, and cultural facilities. I asked the people here in this community, you'll take a look at the community centers, Hastings, Strathcona, Regan. In the 20 or 30 year period, there's been no new development. Other than a coat of paint each year, where have the advocates been in this community with respect to that type of infrastructure? As we look around the rest of Vancouver and we see new community centers, it's not an issue of the federal government not supporting them. Killarney Community Centre now will have a senior centre with federal assistance. For 50 years, my mother and father have gone to the Britannia Community Centre. They're now in their 80s. They've talked about it for 50 years. It still hasn't happened. Let me comment about something that Ms. Kwan has commented about at each debate, the 1993 impetus for her entering into politics at the provincial level and the cancellation of a housing strategy. Ms. Kwan, 20 years have gone by, if not more. You were in cabinet for 5 of those years. Under the Constitution Act, Section 92, Sub 13, the provincial government is responsible for housing and land. What did you do during that time? We've heard about it repeatedly. I ask you to tell this audience, either your voice was ineffective or you simply don't want to be responsible and accountable. What I have heard at the doorstep is individuals want to move beyond the political posturing. Yet you continue to do that. I'm here today to talk about the new initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Les Regan from the Green Party.
The Green Party thinks it's unacceptable that we have homelessness and such an incredible housing crisis from coast to coast to coast here in our country. We want to enshrine housing, the right to housing, as a fundamental human right in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms for a start. After that, we have an ambitious national housing strategy that sees, starting with $400 million, ramping up to $1.4 billion a year after the 4th year, to build 20,000 units of new social housing a year and repair, rehabilitate 8,000 units of existing stock. Make sure that our co-op housing agreements are renewed and extended, expanding funding and support for co-ops, not shrinking away from it. We also realize that foreign speculation is playing a role in urban centers like Vancouver. And we want to look at the programs existing, scrap some of these gimmicky programs that Harper has created, the Immigrant Investor Pilot Program, and really start to work with the provinces and the cities to understand what's happening, making sure that we're using reliable data, bringing back the Canadian census to the point where we can use it again. We need to make evidence-based policy decision-making, and that includes evidence-based policies around housing. With all the different levels of government working together, we can do this. Furthermore, we need to eliminate poverty, because poverty and housing are not two unrelated things. Our guaranteed livable income concept was built on the successful model of Dauphin, Manitoba. You can look it up. You can look at our platform and see how we fully costed these things. We can do this in Canada. We have to do this in Canada. Thank you.